How a Romance Novel Saved the Galaxy by Ariana Dalote. Chapter 8. The Council. It was not the nature of the Jedi Council to act hastily. Privately, Mace Windu thought it was sometimes not in its nature to act at all. It was no wonder that Yoda sometimes just seemed to bypass it entirely, like with the fiasco with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi both suspiciously being sent off on the same dangerous transport. They already had a complaint from a Holdan law on the subject that still needed to be addressed. Normally, Mace wouldn't react much to what was a fairly standard mission report from Master Thizla and Padawan Kiro. Although the mission had gone sideways, they had succeeded. Hitching a ride with a bounty hunter to get away was certainly not the weirdest way he'd heard a Jedi finding their way home. He hadn't been on the council at the time, but the report of Jedi Knight Gunn flying a giant bird across half a continent to stop some sort of army was rather legendary. But normally, there weren't massive shatter points threatening the edge of Mace's vision whenever a Jedi opened their mouth.
"Is there anything else you wish to tell us, Master Thizla?"
he asked. Thizla stood up even straighter, her Padawan echoing the movement behind her. The Force was straining with anticipation. "Yes, my Padawan has been adopted by the Mandalorians and will be raised in both Jedi and Mandalorian traditions. They are more similar and compatible than I think any of us realized. I will be meeting with the Mandalorians regularly to ensure she is comfortable in both cultures."
The shatter point broke. Mace grit his teeth and shunted the pain off into the Force.
Now that he looked, Padawan Kiro had a Beskar vambrace on her arm under her robes, a match for the one he saw on her master. What in the world did that mean?
"Yes, this is," said Yoda.
"Understatement that is," murmured Yaddle. Yarel Poof's neck was swaying side to side in his equivalent of concern and or possibly laughter. Mace found it impossible to tell.
"Do you know why, after 1,000 years of animosity, the Mandalorians would help you and adopt a Jedi Padawan?"
asked Ki Adimundi. Master Thizla's face was perfectly blank. "No, masters."
Mace settled back in his chair. The pain was threatening to edge on his vision.
Master Tyvonka must have noticed. "You are dismissed, Master Thizla, Padawan Kiro. The council will discuss the situation and get back to you."
That was better than making them stand there while the council had a very strong argument, about the issue. What the cark was going on with the Mandalorians?
Jocasta Noob was not one for reading fiction. She'd happily spent hours reading through obscure biographies or court records from early Coruscant, but only read fiction once or twice a year. She thought, therefore, that she could be forgiven for ignoring the book that had been sent to her a few months ago. After all, it was hardly the first romance novel featuring Jedi. She had forwarded the thing to her former Padawan in the Explorer Corps to Kriegi, who was utterly obsessed with sentient species' physical and mental attraction to Jedi in written form, as she put it. But today, she had been looped in on both the recent council session and seen the complaint about Obi-Wan Kenobi's treatment from Holdan Law. Although Jocasta had left the council a few years before due to how much time it took away from the archives, she still often was sent interesting sessions by one counselor or another. Unlike anyone on the council, she was a linguist and could recognize the tics when a Mandoa speaker wrote in Galactic Standard. She recognized, therefore, that they didn't just have one problem with the Mandalorians, they had two, and possibly more of them. Because Holdan Law's complaint mentioned expecting more of the Jedi from what he read. That could, of course, have been a reference to the multiple texts that had been published about Jedi over the centuries, but non-archivists were much more likely to be reading what was popular. It was a simple matter to cross-list the Coruscant top 10,000 with the Mandalorian sector's top 1,000. Especially when the Mandalorian Dilemma was sitting firmly in the number one spot on the Mandalorian list and in the top 1,000 of the Coruscant one. She pulled up the book on her pad and speed-read the first chapter. She then paused and sent the book to Jan with the command, "Read this," attached. She then went back to the book. The hot springs smelled of sulfur and rotten eggs, but they would keep them warm tonight. Nared would never admit it, but he would miss the huddling for warmth. "Come, little one, let me help you sleep," said Hiam and wrapped Kiri in her customary Jedi cloak bundle. Nared could never tell if he was doing some Force asking or not, but once Hiam touched his forehead to hers, she was always fast asleep. Hiam turned to him. Let me help you sleep as well, or at least relax.
Oh,
Take off your armor and let me show you. It felt strange to be lying on his stomach, but then Hiam straddled him and leaned deeply on Nared's shoulders, first one side then the other, before he began gently kneading the tired muscles. There was warmth and, strangely, a sense of peace radiating from his hands and into Nared's back. He drifted, too relaxed to find it odd that he could feel both his own muscles and the muscles in his hands as they pressed into flesh.